a man wins the lottery. He celebrates, buys the house, the car, the freedom. But 6 months later, he's no happier than before. Another man suffers a life-altering accident. He loses movement, autonomy, a future. But 6 months later, he too has returned to his former level of happiness. The data is clear, the outcome doesn't matter. Whether you gain the world or lose everything, your happiness eventually finds its way back to the same place. A boy once found a magic thread. Whenever life felt boring or difficult, he could pull the thread to skip ahead. He skipped school, then heartbreak, then hard work. Before he knew it, he was old. He'd rushed through an entire life without ever being present for any of it. He got what he wanted, but he lost what mattered. These aren't just parables, they're blueprints of a deeper truth. You get the job, the followers, the recognition. You finally reach the moment you've been chasing, and then almost immediately it fades. The applause quiets, the glow dulls. And inside, you feel it again, that quiet emptiness. It's not because something's wrong with you. It's because something is deeply right with your nervous system. Your brain was never built for happiness. It was built for survival. And so, no matter how high you rise, it adapts, it normalizes. And it begins asking, what's next? This phenomenon has a name. Psychologists call it the hedonic treadmill, the loop in which achievement, pleasure, and gain are always temporary. You run faster, acquire more, tick every box, but no matter how far you get, your satisfaction stays in place. You don't feel this because you're doing life wrong. You feel this because you're running inside a system designed to make you chase. We don't pursue joy, we pursue the promise of it. We buy the product, climb the ladder, perfect the image, but none of it stills the hunger. Because the treadmill doesn't stop, it speeds up. And it's so quiet, so invisible, that most people spend their entire lives running without realizing they never actually moved. This is the paradox of modern life. The more you achieve, the more you need. The more you get, the less it gives. And the longer you chase, the more lost you feel. You don't just want happiness, you want it to last. But nothing on the treadmill does, not the job, not the status, not even love when filtered through the lens of acquisition. And here's the trap. Each time the joy fades, you don't question the chase. You blame yourself. You think, maybe I didn't chase hard enough. Maybe the next thing will be the one that finally makes me whole. But it won't. Because the treadmill isn't designed for fulfillment. It's designed for momentum. So let me ask you something directly. Have you ever reached something you chased for years, only to feel nothing at all? That moment is not failure. It's your first chance to wake up. Because the real crisis isn't that we don't get what we want. It's that even when we do, we still feel empty. And the sooner we understand why, the sooner we can begin to step off the treadmill and towards something real. The most dangerous thing about the treadmill is that it feels like progress. You get the goal, you check the box, you smile for the photo, and then you're still restless, still anxious, still scrolling, still looking for something you can't quite name. It isn't just a feeling, it's a formula. And your brain is running it on autopilot. Dopamine, the molecule of motivation, doesn't reward you for what you have. It rewards you for what you expect. You feel most alive before the moment arrives, not during, not after. And here's where it gets dangerous. Every time something exceeds your expectations, your brain records it as a new standard. So next time, to feel the same high, you need more novelty, more intensity, more everything. This is called reward prediction error, and it means your happiness doesn't come from what you achieve. It comes from the gap between what you expected and what you got. If it's better than you imagined, you're thrilled. If it's exactly what you imagined, you feel nothing. If it's worse, you feel cheated. It's the reason you felt a rush the first time someone said they loved you, but now you need grander gestures to feel the same. It's why the vacation loses magic the second time, why the new phone is exciting for a day, why nothing ever seems to hit the way you thought it would. Your brain keeps moving the finish line, and the moment you reach it, it moves again. And now, another problem appears, the disappointment gap. That space between how good you imagined something would feel and how it actually does. The bigger the build-up, the harder the crash. This is why goals often hurt more than they heal. Why milestone moments leave you dazed instead of fulfilled. And why the second you accomplish something, you're already thinking about what comes next. You don't feel satisfied, you feel behind. You don't feel joy, you feel a strange pressure to maximize it before it fades. This is the paradox. The pursuit of happiness often destroys the very conditions we need to feel it. The more we chase it, the more it retreats. And this isn't just biology, it's exploitation. You're surrounded by systems that know exactly how to stimulate your seeking circuitry without ever letting you rest in arrival. Every product, every scroll, every one more thing is designed to activate desire without closure. But this desire isn't neutral, it accumulates. And when it isn't fulfilled, it mutates into anxiety, into burnout, into numbness. Your brain becomes like a leaky bucket. You keep pouring in achievement, approval, entertainment, but nothing holds. And eventually you start believing the problem is you. That if you were just more disciplined, more productive, more grateful, you could finally feel okay. But that's the final illusion, because you're not the bucket. You're the one holding it, and the hole was always designed to be there. So pause for a moment here with me. What was the last thing you thought would make you happy but didn't? What did that moment teach you? Because the truth is, not all of your happiness is lost to the treadmill. Science tells us that nearly 40% of our long-term well-being comes not from what happens to us, but from what we focus on. How we think, what we choose to value. That's not a hack, that's a doorway. And in the next chapter, we'll see what happens when this system, this longing, isn't just inside us, but woven into the very fabric of the world we live in. And the only way out is to finally see it for what it is. What if your unhappiness wasn't a failure of effort, but the result of a business model? What if every time you felt behind, not enough or left out, you were exactly where someone needed you to be? You weren't born with a need for 10-step skincare routines, limited edition sneakers, or productivity apps promising peak optimization. Those needs were engineered. We live inside an invisible machine, an ecosystem of profit that feeds on your self-doubt. It doesn't sell products, it sells aspiration, and it never delivers because it can't. If you were satisfied, you'd stop consuming. This is consumerism's magic trick. Create the hunger, then sell the illusion of fullness again and again. But it doesn't stop at possessions. Today, the comparison isn't just to what others have, it's to who they appear to be. Every scroll is a referendum on your worth. Someone your age is richer, smarter, more sculpted, more in love, more at peace on a mountaintop in Bali, smiling through a filter. And you? You're on your couch, unshowered, rewatching something you've already seen. Statistically, you're not alone. Over 90% of teenagers use social media daily. And those who use it more than 3 hours a day are twice as likely to report depression or anxiety. This isn't content, it's distortion, an endless stream of polished lives that makes your real one feel insufficient. This is choice overload disguised as empowerment. You can swipe through 1,000 potential partners, but end up lonelier than ever. You can shop for 10,000 outfits and still feel like you have nothing to wear. You can chase a curated life and lose the thread of your own. Because when everything is possible, nothing is satisfying, and when every choice is a comparison, every outcome feels like a loss. The algorithm doesn't care about what nourishes you. It cares about what hooks you. And nothing hooks like envy, like insecurity, like fear of missing out. You're not chasing happiness, you're chasing relief from the ache of always feeling behind. And just when you start to notice that ache, they sell you a new solution. Work harder, grind smarter, wake up at 5 a.m. and seize the day. Build your brand, own your niche, never settle. This is hustle culture, the cult of performance dressed as purpose. But what they don't tell you is that the finish line keeps moving, that every goal achieved is immediately replaced by another, that the applause fades faster than the exhaustion, and if you burn out, That's on you. Should have managed your mindset, should have optimized your sleep cycle, should have read the right book. You begin to believe the lie, if I'm tired, it's because I'm weak. If I'm unhappy, it's because I'm lazy. But the truth is brutal. You are not falling short. You're trapped in a system that makes wholeness impossible because it can't sell to people who feel whole. And the scariest part? Most of the people you're chasing are tired too, performing joy they don't feel. Checking boxes that keep reappearing, caught in the same loop, only more silently. So ask yourself, who would you be if you stopped chasing? Who are you beneath the algorithm? Beneath the ambition? Beneath the mask? That's what the ancient voices were trying to tell us, long before the ads, the likes, the spreadsheets. They weren't anti-success, they weren't anti-dream, they were simply awake. And now so are you. Long before neuroscience mapped dopamine, before influencers became life coaches, before happiness became a product to chase, people were asking the same question: why are we never satisfied? And some of them, instead of running faster, stopped completely. They didn't reject the world. They studied it, then looked inward. The Stoics saw that life was full of chaos and loss. But they believed peace wasn't found in controlling outcomes. It was found in mastering what you could control: your thoughts, your reactions, your desires. Wealth, said Epictetus, is not having great possessions, but having few wants. He wasn't telling you to give up, he was telling you to wake up. To stop outsourcing your peace to things that vanish. The Buddhists agreed. They called it tanha, craving, the source of suffering. But they didn't condemn desire itself. They offered a new kind of desire, chanda, a skillful longing. The desire to awaken, to become free. You don't have to kill your ambition, you have to clarify it. What are you really chasing? Validation? Control? Enoughness? Because the more you chase, the more it slips away. Not because it's unreachable, but because it was never out there to begin with. The Taoists said it even more simply: the greatest of woes comes from not knowing contentment. They didn't preach productivity, they practiced wu wei, the art of not forcing. Flowing with life, not against it. In their world, a person was wise not when they achieved the most, but when they wanted the least. And it's not just Eastern wisdom. Erich Fromm, a 20th century psychoanalyst, saw it too. Modern life, he said, had become obsessed with having possessions, control, performance. But the key to fulfillment was being, experiencing, connecting, existing authentically. You were not born to be a brand. You were not built to be an algorithm's output. You're a living question, a presence, a pulse. Even Albert Camus, the existentialist, saw the absurdity: Sisyphus doomed to roll the boulder forever. A meaningless task, but Camus said we must imagine Sisyphus happy. Why? Because he stopped hoping for escape and started owning his experience. Not as a prisoner, but as a rebel. Maybe that's the secret, not to escape the treadmill, but to recognize it for what it is. A game you no longer have to play, so breathe. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel the weight of everything you've been carrying that was never yours to hold. What would it mean to stop chasing more and start choosing enough? Not in resignation, but in quiet revolution. Because once you realize you were never supposed to catch happiness, you become free to feel it. Right here, right now, in the pause, in the breath, in the sacred moment between desire and stillness. Most people aren't afraid of failure, they're afraid of stopping. Because when the noise dies down, when you're no longer performing, climbing, or optimizing, you're left with something far more confronting. Silence. Presence. The raw weight of yourself, that's where the real discomfort lives, not in falling short, but in being still long enough to realize you've been chasing ghosts. But this is also where something else begins, not another sprint, not another trick. Something quieter, something true. Gratitude is the first step off the treadmill. Not as an Instagram caption, not as a checklist, but as an act of rebellion against the culture of never enough. Gratitude doesn't ask you to add anything, it teaches your eyes to see again. the people you'd ache to lose, the ordinary things that once seemed extraordinary, before you stopped noticing. This is how you reclaim beauty, by remembering what was already there. Then comes awe, not the awe of fireworks or mountaintops, though that helps, but the kind that strikes when you look at the night sky and realize you're a speck of dust with the miracle of awareness. Awe disarms the ego, it unhooks you from the center. It reminds you you don't need to be everything. You already belong to something far greater. This isn't shrinking, it's expansion without grasping, fulfillment without possession. Then there is flow, the sacred state of deep immersion. When action becomes effortless, time dissolves and the self fades. You're not chasing joy, you're inside it, not because of reward, but because you forgot to want anything else. You don't find flow by hustling harder, you find it by aligning with what calls to your soul when no one is watching. These moments, gratitude, awe, flow, aren't luxuries. They are the eudaimonic staircase, not a treadmill that resets, but a quiet upward path built not on highs, but on depth. Eudaimonia, not pleasure, but meaning, flourishing. A life measured not by constant elevation, but by presence, alignment, and soul-sourced growth. And this path asks something radical of you, to slow down. In a world that worships velocity, slowness becomes sacred. Slow eating, slow conversations, slow mornings, slow choosing. This is not laziness, it's deliberateness, an intentional step away from life as reaction and toward life as design. But slowing down isn't just about time. It's about wanting less, not as deprivation, as liberation. Minimalism, not as an aesthetic, but as a question. What's getting in the way of what matters? Not what looks good, not what impresses, what feeds you. And when you remove what doesn't, you're left with the rarest thing in the modern world, clarity. That's what slow living gives you, a chance to feel your life while it's happening, to opt out of the noise, to stop managing impressions and start inhabiting your truth. So here's a question to leave open inside you. What's one thing you stopped chasing that brought you more peace than you expected? Write it down. Let someone else see it. You never know whose treadmill your story might help slow. You've been chasing something your entire life. A finish line that never stays put. A version of you that always seems just one more milestone away. You've been told that life is a game you win by doing more, having more, becoming more. But the truth has always been quieter, slower, nearer. And it begins here. You are not behind, you are not late, you are not broken. You are just running a race that was designed to never end. And now you see it. Now the loop has been exposed, not as fate, but as condition. And once you see the treadmill, you're no longer trapped on it. You get to step off, not into apathy, but into choice. Because you've remembered what the world tried to make you forget, that happiness isn't something you earn. It's something you feel when the need to earn dissolves. That presence isn't the reward, it's the source. That success isn't the final chapter. It's just another story someone sold you. And you don't have to buy it anymore. The healing doesn't come from one big breakthrough, it comes from micro moments. From pausing before you say yes to what depletes you. From noticing the joy of ordinary things, from choosing enough and purpose. You don't need to be impressive. You need to be here and fully here. With your flaws, your past, your humanity intact. You've been enough this whole time. You just couldn't feel it through the noise. So now, as the story closes, let's leave with one last paradox. The treadmill ends the moment you realize you never needed to run. So breathe, not to perform, not to reset. Just to feel what's always been true. You're here, you're alive, you're allowed to rest. And if this made something inside you go quiet, even just for a moment, share it, leave a trace below. Write a truth someone else forgot. Because we're all running until we remember we were always allowed to stop.